Easy maintenance on your XT250. Don't be intimidated. Let's get to it. Hello, D-Rock here. Welcome to the channel. I hope you all are well. Right here is my 2020 XT250. This is one of my favorite bikes. I have lots of fun on this bike, but it's time to do just some routine maintenance on it. And I'm not talking about checking valves or anything of that nature. This is just going to be some oil change, air filter, maybe adjust the chain. These are really simple things to do. So if you have one of these bikes and you're not familiar with working on a bike yourself, trust me, it's not hard at all to do, and you shouldn't be intimidated to do it. And this will also save you some money, so you don't have to take it to the dealership. So don't be afraid to get in there. And let me just say, I'm not a certified tech. If I can do these things, so can you. Okay, sorry about the background noise. I've got like a little heater fan blowing. It's cold out, and then you've got some neighborhood kids screaming in the background, and I can do about that. If you have a brand spanking new 2024 Yamaha XT250, what I'm doing today will be just fine for that bike. As far as I know, nothing's changed on the bike. If you got an older model, older than 2020, 2017, whatnot, I think everything's still pretty much the same. So it's always good to reference your owner's manual. I, however, have lost my owner's manual, but you can just go online and download a PDF. Okay, to begin with, underneath your XT250, you have to take the seat off to get to your air filter. There's two bolts. This is really easy. Right here, you take these two bolts out, and they are 8mm. Oh man, my XT is filthy. Absolutely filthy. I live in a desert environment, so it's very dusty. So I have to change the air filter quite often. I check it quite often. It's very important to do that. So, I mean, if you lived in the middle of a city and this is what you're riding all around, changing the air filter is good to do, but you probably wouldn't have to do it as frequently as I do. So anyway, these two bolts are out, 8mm. That's all there is. Seat's gonna pop off. Let's get the seat off. This is simple here. Let's get the saddle bag out. Do that and do that. And boom. Seat comes right off. Piece of cake. Top comes off. There's the air filter. All right, you may want to note how the air filter is in place as you pull it out, just so you correctly reinstall it. I don't believe you can get it in there any other way, but I could be wrong. So we're just going to gently pull that out. Ooh, and that is absolutely filthy. Look at that. Yeah. So that's, you know, that's just a couple of rides for me, really. And the air filter looks like this. There is the new air filter. So just for comparison, you can see the used air filter compared to the new one, and there is a bit of difference, isn't there? Yeah, good idea to do the air filter. And it's just a matter of sliding that new one back in, and we're good to go. All right, we'll just put that cover back in place. All right, we're moving underneath the bike now, and right here, this is the drain for the oil. Coming up, this is where you'll put the oil in. You see a little window where you can check, and this is the housing where the oil filter is. So we're gonna go ahead and change the oil, and first thing I'm gonna do is I'm just going to start the bike up and let it run for a few minutes to warm everything up. All right, so drain plug, 12 millimeter. Not too complicated. We'll get that in there. All right, we got it. It's nice and warmed up. Ready to do it. Yeah. It's ready to happen. Oh. Here we go. Yeah, very nice. I think the crush washer is still stuck to that thing up there. Oh wow, bolt is dirty. Oh, I heard it. There it went. There it went. Ah. You do have a crush washer up there. There it is. Right there. It's good to keep some paper towels handy. Shop towels, whatever you use. That's it, man. That's pretty quick. Oil's gonna drain out. It's nice and warmed up. Clean up the bolt, clean up that area, and then we'll move on to the oil filter. Moving on. So, like I mentioned, this is where you're going to put your fresh oil in, and then this is where your oil filter resides. So we're going to take this off and replace the large O-ring here and the oil filter. And you may just want to tuck a little paper towel underneath there, because when you loosen this off and pull it up, oil is going to spill out. Also, I should mention, when you pull these bolts back out and then you decide to put them back in, you do not want to over tighten these. They are like barely screwed in, and you want to probably check your torque. That's your game. I'm just going to go ahead and loosen these guys up. See, they're not in at all. They're not super tight. So just bear that in mind. We're just going to loosen these bad boys up. Piece of cake. Let's go with the top right one here. I think this one's a pretty long one, if I remember correctly. Yeah, it's in there, man. Yeah, it's pretty long one. So we'll put that to the side. So there. There's a difference in size for sure. All right, top right, big one. Top left, short one. What's the bottom one going to be? Let's have a look. Oh, the bottom one's short. Is that the same size? Bottom one looks to be the same size as the top left, but we'll keep them in order regardless. So let's go ahead and pull that off. Yep, there's your oil spilling out. And there's no spring. And there we go. So we'll just go ahead and take that off. And don't be afraid to jam a towel in there and clean that out. Get that nice and clean in there. Also going to clean the cap, and I'm going to pull that O-ring out of there. There's the O-ring here. We're just going to pull this out and put a new one in. You can just get it. I don't have much of a fingernail. Oh, yeah, it just pops right out. There we go. And we're going to put the new O-ring in, and I've got some fresh oil here readily available. Whoa, is that the same size? Yeah, it is the same size. Weird. There we go. It's back in. We're going to put some fresh oil on that. Just dip my finger in some oil, and there we go. Cover that in oil. Good to go. Now we're gonna do the oil filter. Just gonna put a little oil on that. Let's just do both sides, whatever. Oh yeah, sorry. That right there, there's a certain way. So if you notice, let me point this out. On the cap, there's like an extended prong here. And then when you get your filter, obviously you can tell which end's gonna go on that prong. It's like that. Yep. And that goes in there. It's pretty simple because that's not gonna fit. So it's kind of idiot proof. All right, now we're just gonna put that back on. One thing I should point out, there is an O-ring right here. I'm not replacing that. And I don't know how often you should replace that, but keep that in mind that there is another O-ring sitting right there. Okay, so we got that in, everything's oiled up. And there we go. We'll get those screws back in. Just remember, when you tighten these up, do not over tighten. You may want to check your manual and make sure you have the correct torque specs for these. I'm just gonna clean this up a little bit. Filthy bike. Clean up a little bit around where the drain plug was. Clean bolt, new crush washer. I'm going back in. Oh, some leaking out there. Just clean that up real quick. All right, let's get that back in there. Crush washer. All right, we're good. We're gonna tighten it. Now you want to check your torque specs for this as well. You know, it might be a good idea when you have your drain plug out to open this as well. That would probably release some more oil, and I didn't do that, but you very well want to do that. And also, there is an O-ring on that you might want to check out. What I'm going to do, I've just wiped this off, and you can notice there's a little O-ring on that. I'm just going to take a little tiny bit of waterproof grease and just kind of go on that O-ring there. And we'll just kind of wipe that on there. It just kind of protects it a little bit. Not a lot, just a little film. I guess you could use oil too. You know, maybe you don't even have to do this. However, I seem to have to do this with my other bikes on things, so I just do it on the XT. It's not a big deal. And we got a little light covering of grease on that. That'll kind of protect things from seeping in there, you know, so just in case you're curious. Okay, that's clean right there, so we're going to put the oil in. I use Yamaha 10W40. There's different viscosities, but this works for me. This is what I use. This is all I use, and I haven't had any problems. So before you put the oil in, of course, check your manual to make sure you put the right amount in. And because there's a different amount, if you don't change the oil filter, there's a certain amount. If you change the oil filter, there's a certain amount. So I changed the oil filter. That means I'm going to put in 1.3 liters of oil. And in quarts, that's going to be 1.37 quarts, I believe. So there's a little bit of difference. I've got one of these that is measured in liters, so I just pour the oil in this, then I take the oil and I pour it in a funnel in the tank, and I will put in 1.30 liters of oil. All right, there's 1 liter. And I like to use a funnel. We'll just go ahead and get that in. And that'll do it. We get the oil back in, so we'll just go ahead and put that back in, tighten her down, and then we'll start the bike for a second, let everything settle, and see what the oil looks like in the window here. All right, we're gonna let it run for a second, and then we're gonna check the oil level again just to make sure we're good to go. All right, there's 2 lines right here. You want that oil in between those 2 lines, and it is. So we are good to go. I got the bike standing level or straight, so it is just under that top line and above the bottom line. that makes any sense. So we're good to go. All right, so the last thing I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna check the chain here, and to make this easier, it is just take this chain guard off right here. We'll do that. I think it's, yep, it's 8. Really easy. Once again, just like underneath the seat, 8mm, 2 screws right there. Now, if you have to adjust the chain, it just pulls right on out like that. Real easy. So to check the chain, according to the manual, you're going to want the bike on the side stand, but no weight on the bike. And actually, I think my chain's pretty good. You want to space the chain guide right here. You don't want the chain just sitting flat on that, from what I understand. Yeah, I'm at right at 1.5 inches, just under or just over 1.5 inches. And you want it 1.5 inches to 1.75 inches. Kind of at the center here, or maybe that's the center, right around there. But I've got space underneath the chain. I don't really think I need to adjust this. So it's good to check on this, because you don't want this too tight or too loose. So I don't really have to do anything. I check the chain pretty regularly, but looks like I'm good to go. And as far as adjusting the chain, it's really simple. So you come over here and you loosen the nut here, and you've got both these, and you've got numbers on them. And all you do is you just loosen this rear axle, and then you move these until the chain is to your preferred adjustment, and you do it with the numbers here. So you want to make sure that the number's the same on either side. But since I just checked my chain, it's good to go. I don't need to do with that. And I recently cleaned it and lubed it. It's got a little dust on it right now. We're good to go. So that's pretty much a wrap. And that's just kind of what I'm getting at here is it's just easy maintenance on your XT. So generally, before I go on a ride, I check the chain, I check the tire pressure, I inspect the tires visually, and that's really about it. You know, you can go through, do your oil change. I do mine. I just do mine depending on mileage a year. Like I haven't done an oil change in a year on the XT250 because I don't accumulate lots of miles on it. It's specifically for backcountry riding. Once I get it set up for moto camping, that'll be a different story. But for now, you know, however many thousands of miles according to the manual, I usually go with that. However, the thing that I change the most and I check very frequently is the air filter, because of the environment I live and ride in, which is very dusty. So that has to be taken care of. So like I said, I'm not a certified tech. Maintenance on the bike, general maintenance, is very simple. Don't be afraid to do it. If I can do it, you can do it. And then it'll interest you to a point that maybe you want to get into and start checking valves and things like that. You never know. Anyway, there you have it. Some easy maintenance on the XT250. As always, thank you very much for watching. If you are new to the channel, please consider subscribing. Thank you very much. Stay safe out there, folks. Lots more content on the way. We'll see you next time. D-Rock out. Adios.